So, welcome back to Starbound with Marcus Aurelius and myself, Wade Star. I'm currently going to go find where he's beamed himself. We're exploring planets. He's trying to help me find some florins because I need to find florins to progress with the story mission.
Yep. Grab whatever in the chest. That's also one of my favorite chests. So if you want to grab the chest as well.
Oh, that's what I always do. It's like, why take what's in the chest when you can just take the whole chest?
Yeah, they go. Oh, wait, let's not go this way. It's another penal colony. I don't really want to run through another one of those.
Yeah.
It's so funny though because I've spent days looking for a human encampment, and we've run into 2 human villages and 2 human penal colonies, just like that.
You know, and I guess that's one thing I would say that like annoys me about the game sometimes is that you remember in the old version there was a quest you could get at the colony where you had to find this you had to find items for this glitch, and he would show you like a picture of it, right? But then one of the items he would want is like this bookcase thing that was only found in glitch encampments, and it took me so long to ever find it. And even when I found a glitch encampment, like, or a glitch base or something like that, it wasn't guaranteed to even have that piece of furniture in it. That drove me nuts for the longest period of time. So
Interesting. No,
I'm hoping the florins aren't quite that hard.
By the time I started playing the game, there were no quests like that. And that's so interesting because why would the developers remove quests? Like, that's what people enjoy. Like, it's interesting how the actual version of the game that is complete does not have quests. Like, they took them away.
Wait, which version did you start playing on?
This summer, like this past summer.
Oh, okay. So version 1, is that right? The release version? Yeah, okay. Yeah, so it was the version right before that. And yeah, the version right before that didn't have the quests on the planet surfaces, right? So they must have replaced it. The only quests there were the ones that were in the base. And there are still a few of those quests.
You know, I will say I think the quests currently are very bare bones.
Yeah.
Like, I think they could stand to make some interesting quests. Right now it's usually just go really far away, find this person, maybe kill some guys, and then come back. And
the thing too is that like by the time you get back to like resolve the quest, there's like more quests available, so they don't feel very special. They feel like a whack-a-mole to me. Like unless they've changed it with this version. But before I was like, oh, you know, I found this encampment. I'll do the quests here and then move on. And then so I was trying to do the quests, and then I'd come back and there's more quests. And so I was like, well, I'll finish these quests, and then I'd finish those quests, and I came back and there's more quests, and then they were all the same thing, you know, like go here, kill that.
This is the first Nova Kid village I've ever seen. All right, I gotta flag this up. Sorry, just a sec.
You gonna grab any loot here? A Molotov.
I'm sorry?
I was gonna say, are you gonna grab any loot here?
No. Hopefully I can build I can't build a flag. Oh well, I know where the planet is. I can come back.
Hang on. Do I have the stuff for flag? I have one piece of woven fabric, if that'll help.
No, I don't think so. It's okay. Again, my spaceship is in orbit around this place, so
you can
it's not like it's going to get away from me.
Whoops. I think I closed the door after you opened it.
But because right now I'm building a human base, and it's all technological. But after that, I want to build a Nova Kid base. So this is obviously where I'm going to get my furniture and stuff from.
I want to build a wooden base on a volcanic planet.
Oh, good luck.
Yeah. Those were my favorite ones. Like those were like the magical moments for me when I played this game. And again, I don't know if it's still this way or not. This was the version right before version 1. But like I got to the volcanic planets, and then you'd find these like wooden houses that and they wouldn't last very long. But
no, I saw a comment in somebody's like Reddit that said something like every 15 minutes the random generator spawns a wooden village in a volcanic planet and it burns down. Where are you? I think I've lost you.
I am on the side of a mountain failing to platform. Ugh.
Oh.
Here we go. Just do it the right way. Do it live!
I'm trying to give you some steps here.
Oh,
there we go.
Oh, why can't I... One block is giving me all this grief.
But yeah, so I'd love to see like new biomes, maybe a new biome every 6 months. You know, throw some new enemies in, some new weapon types. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if this company. I know Chucklefish is the not the developer, the publisher, but I don't know if the developer actually does any other games. Like I don't know what they're up to.
Yeah, that actually just answered like some questions I had, because I was like, because Starbound had such a huge. Who is this? Is this a?
Oh, that's a glitch merchant.
Yeah, I was gonna say. There was like a whole bunch of controversy about Starbound for not getting developed on time, which, I mean, with Kickstarter, nothing on Kickstarter ever gets done on time, except things that are done by like big companies, and then that raises an ethical question whether big companies should be using Kickstarter at all, since Kickstarter is supposed to be like for venture, for people who can't get normal funding.
So my belief on that topic is absolutely, because if the big company uses Kickstarter as a means that they can escape they can make a game that the public wants. You know what I mean? Like if they do an honest Kickstarter where they really do solicit feedback from the fans, and you know what I mean, then that's fine with me. I don't know. I don't disagree, because basically everything basically revolves around like whether it's making money or not, and you can't fault businesses for doing what's going to make money for them. And like, so for example, I remember when Sunless Skies had their Kickstarter, right? And for me, what it was, I wasn't like mad at them for doing that, even though it was like, you know, there's no risk, you know, backing Sunless Skies. Like, you know it's going to get made, like, just no question, right? So basically, we're using it as a pre-order system, which, again, not real. I mean, but to be fair, though, they're not a big publisher. I mean, they have Fallen London, which is a browser game, and they have Sunless Sea, which, I mean, I love it. And if you watch my channel, you think it was very popular. But to be truthful, there's probably like, you know, 100 people. I mean, more than that, obviously. But you know what I mean? It's not. They probably need the money. I wouldn't consider them a big publisher. Not like you know, for example, Firaxis or any of these AAAs, but I also, like, I guess my point is, like, we know that they have enough money to do it, and I don't fault them for doing the pre-orders, because that's still a good idea, right? Because it gives them the money to spend on the game. And having the money now through pre-orders is, I mean, like, why would we fault somebody for just doing, like, somebody like Paradox for doing pre-orders either? Although a lot of people have been saying, like, that's a bad idea, but for different reasons that I don't care to comment on. So anyway, with them, I just asked them directly, like, hey, like, for me, it was just like, I didn't want to fund them through Kickstarter. I wanted to fund their pre-order. And I just sent them an email asking them, like, hey, you know, I want to pre-order, or I want to back Sunless Skies, but is there a way I can do it? Do you have an option that doesn't go through Kickstarter? And I didn't really expect there to be. Really? Just because you had a moral issue about it?
Not a moral issue. It's just that anything on Kickstarter, like, basically 10% of that money is going to Amazon. And so it's just kind of like, I don't know, it's like, why? But I guess, that's where, like, they would answer that question and not me, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, I guess for them, it's like the 10% that goes to Amazon is worth it compared to them trying to run the logistics of it themselves, you know? And
yeah, sorry, I'm just looking here for a chest, because I want that.
Of course,
furniture.
I don't know what that logistical cost is. The only thing that I think is, like, problematic, and this isn't a problem with the people who use Kickstarter, who, like, perhaps technically speaking don't need to, is just that the more people who use Kickstarter as, like, a pre-order system, the more I think people perceive Kickstarter as a pre-order system, and then if a project comes along that fails, right, then there's a lot of fallout for that. Or if, like, a project doesn't get delivered on time, like, for example, Starbound, because it's made by, like, maybe one or two people who ostensibly Kickstarters to help people who, like I said, are very small, like, indie developers, and really don't have the money or anything any other way. And then it's like, they don't have business experience, right? Or this is the first time they've made a game, right? And yeah, what am I trying to say? It's like it raises the bar when bigger publishers, bigger as in bigger than like, you know, the guy living at home in his parents' basement who's trying to make a game. When they use Kickstarter and make these really, really slick projects, they raise the bar of expectation for people who Kickstarter is, like I said, technically supposed to be for. Right? Like, technically it should be for, like, technically Kickstarter is supposed to have risk involved. That, like, you're backing a project and there's, like, a chance that it'll fail. So you shouldn't back a project on Kickstarter unless you're okay with the possibility that it may not turn out the way you want. Or it may not turn out successfully at all. Which a lot of people, I don't think, have that mentality when they do back a project. And
well, I think that might be your assumption, because the first thing I ever kickstarted was Project Eternity, which was, you know, made by a well-known name. It was like the new Baldur's Gate. That's what they were building it as. So I personally, while I have kickstarted things that were startups that failed, my introduction to the platform was through I mean, I guess the reason they needed Kickstarter is because no big publishers thought the world needed another old school RPG, but still, I mean, they were a company that had achieved results in the past.
Yeah. Like, it's taken me a very long time to, like, kind of work through what I've been trying to say.
I mean, I kind of get where you're going with it. I just don't know if I agree. Like, I mean, I get. So you're afraid that the small indie developer who is going to use Kickstarter in order to fund their dream project that they really care about is being unfairly put into competition with larger developers who are using the platform, and you feel like they're using the platform kind of duplicitously.
I don't feel like anybody who's using the platform is using it duplicitously, because, yeah, that's where it's weird. It's like, so, because like you're doing right now, I'm doing in my head too, it raises the question, well then who should be using it? Like, should people be disallowed from using Kickstarter? And it's like, I don't really think that. Like, anybody who wants to use it should be able to use it, right? And, I mean, what's Amazon's take going to be? Amazon gets 10% of, you know, any of the money of a successful project. So, of course, Amazon wants people who are going to be successful and know what they're doing to use Kickstarter. You know what I mean? So it's like, of course they should use it. Yeah, so like I said, I don't know. I guess I'm kind of, like, ambivalent about it a bit. I don't know exactly how I feel. I think if I had a complaint about anything, my only complaint would be about the kind of people who get on Kickstarter and just have sort of this sense of entitlement that I think maybe comes from they had an experience, you know, backing, you know, yeah, maybe they don't understand that, like, Kickstarter is not meant to just be like a pre-order system for big companies, even if big companies I shouldn't say big companies, but even if, you know, like, more established companies use it as sort of a de facto pre-order system. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand that. I think it's setting the expectations when you start your Kickstarter. Because, I mean, first of all, we're thinking about one very specific aspect of Kickstarter, which is video games. I mean, Kickstarter right now, they do everything from clothing to you know, books, like whatever. So I think as long as your Kickstarter says, hey, we're an indie developer, we need the funds because, you know, we can't get a publisher to give us money, and here's what we're going to deliver, and if you are interested in it, you know, please note that this is a risk or whatever on your part. I think that's just fine. In fact, one of my favorite Kickstarter things was, I don't know if you've ever heard of, oh God, now I'm forgetting their name, but they made an old school RPG where you're like this god who falls down to earth. They're making a new game called Copper Dreams, and it's like a husband and wife essentially, but their games are really complex, difficult, and interesting. They have atmosphere, and so I mean, I think Kickstarter is a platform by which, had they not had access to that, they would not be able to make the great games that I personally think they do. And watch out, this is basically a straight drop down.
Yeah,
you wouldn't. I don't think you'd survive.
I know. I'm making myself a little stairwell. It'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see if people comment on my opinion about Kickstarter. So I'm just gonna say, like, I don't have, like, I don't have like a solid opinion on it. You know what I mean? Like it's like I said, I truly am probably ambivalent about it.
One thing I will say that I don't like about Kickstarter is it allows people who have absolutely no idea how to publish a game to think that they can.
Yeah.
So let me give you an example. When I was a kid, my favorite games in the world were the Quest for Glory games by Sierra.
Yeah.
I did number 4 on my channel, actually.
I know, I watched it.
By Lori and Corey Cole. And they were amazing game designers who made amazing games, right?
Yeah.
Well, they did a Kickstarter. I mean, it feels like it was like a decade ago, but it was probably like maybe 2 years ago for a spiritual kind of sequel to those games. And all it is so far is just a bunch of Kickstarter updates, maybe every 6 months, saying, oh, geez, we lost a bunch of our employees. We had to put a mortgage on our house in order to be able to make this game. It's just a sob story.
Yeah.
And so then I'm thinking, what it makes me think is these guys are incredibly creative, talented game developers. They make amazing games. Here's our floor in place, by the way. But at the same time, they apparently just don't have what it takes to self-publish a game. They simply lack the business skills, and that's fine. So do I. You know, I mean, so do a lot of people. But you get those Kickstarters, and I've Kickstarted enough projects that I've seen this iteration numerous times, where it's basically like, oh, woe is us. You know, our dog died.
Oh, I know.
You know, my girlfriend left me. It's like I get it, dude, but you know, you should have probably thought about that before you started a Kickstarter. You should have thought, okay, we need a business plan. We need a time frame that we need to at least try to stick by. Sometimes the most creative and excellent game developers are really crappy at meeting budgets and meeting deadlines, and that they need publishers. So that's the kind of Kickstarter experience I don't like. When otherwise people who are amazing and talented and wonderful, but they just can't get their act together enough to get a game out.
Yeah, like that was my experience using Kickstarter too. Is that it is really hard. Like when I was trying to use Kickstarter to get a board game made, and what I realized from going through it was that I don't know. I didn't have the chops to self-promote, for example. I think those people were good at self-promoting because they got the money. That's the thing. Is like I didn't get funded. But even then, you see people who get funded and then like they don't know how to spend money. And with board games, because board games are where it always was happening, is that, you know, people wouldn't want... here's a thing I can talk about that I would criticize Kickstarter for. Or like criticize not the platform necessarily, but I don't know, just raise an issue that I think existed with Kickstarter, is that okay, so you would sometimes find yourself in a catch-22, and with board games you just kind of accepted it, but in order to get people to back your game, you couldn't say that like it was going to take you 2 years to make your game, or nobody would want to back it, and so then you don't get to make it. So you would say something like, oh, I think it's going to take a year to make the game, and then people would back it, and you would get the money to make your game, and then you would take 2 years or so to make the game. Like this would always happen. And then people would obviously be like, oh, this game, is it ever going to get made and stuff like that. But obviously it's making progress. It's just that like there's no way you can manufacture a board game in like, well, there's not. I shouldn't say there's no way, but there's a lot of problems that come with, I mean, it just takes time. And so people would make promises that they don't really have any experience with, they don't really know how to deliver on, but what they do know is that if they don't say that they can deliver it in a timely fashion, like in a year, then nobody will back it. And so it's like that catch-22. It's like, well, I can be honest and be like, well, I think it's going to take me, like, I can't promise you that this will be done in a year. So I can promise you it'll be done in 2 years, and maybe it'll be done in a year and a half. And then, yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
And so, like, that would happen with board games a lot.
When I first found out about Kickstarter as a platform, my immediate thought was, hallelujah, I hate publishers. They're just money-grubbing businessmen who don't care about the gaming industry. Thank God we no longer need them. And now, after being experienced with Kickstarter for a couple years, my thought is, yeah, publishers are evil, but they know how to get a game made on time and on budget.
Yeah, like...
And they're a necessary evil.
Yeah, and I mean, not all publishers are the same, I think.
Well, like the big public. I mean,
yeah.
But they do. I mean, the only thing you ever hear is that they stifle the creativity. Look at, Amplitude Studios. I love those guys. Every game they put out, I adore.
Yeah.
They got Sega to back them as a publisher. And what happened? They were forced to release Endless Space 2 early. It had tons of game-breaking bugs. The Steam forums were nothing but people trashing them. And it probably hurt their sales, So it's like, I didn't understand it. Like, I felt like they were a successful company. I felt like they made enough money from Endless Legend and Endless Space 1 that they could self-publish. But apparently they thought that that going through Sega was the way to go. And again, I don't know their business strategy, so that they could be totally right. But what ended up happening was they were forced to cut corners, or at least let me say allegedly, based on people's comments on Steam who could be completely idiotic and wrong.
You're playing Endless Space 2. Do you think that criticism is true? I remember it being bug-ridden when, it was early access, but that's early access. I'll forgive anything if it's in early access, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I love the game, and I personally didn't see many problems with it, but from what I understand that people were experiencing, the game-breaking bugs didn't happen during the early access. It happened after they released the gold version of the game.
Okay, well that's
or at least they released the gold version of the game without fixing them. And so I don't know. It's love-hate. I think they're a fantastic publisher, and I'm sad that Sega has kind of put that impression on them. But at the same time, they wouldn't have signed up with Sega if their owners or whatever didn't feel like that was a good financial move for the company. And if it helps them release more games when without Sega they wouldn't have been able to, then I'll put up with that. But I think whenever you see big publishers get involved with smaller studios, the creativity goes down, and overall the product falters a little bit. Now, that is not the case with Endless Space 2. I think Endless Space 2 is superior to Endless Space 1 in almost every respect. Yeah. So, I want to make that clear right now. But
because I haven't seen. I was going to say, I haven't seen any issues with people as they've been playing Endless Space 2 on any of the Let's Plays. I watched you and Daz, and there's a couple other guys that I've been watching off and on. My only issues with Endless Space 2 is, just whether I'll like it or not. I don't care for the combat system too much, but I haven't seen anything like game-breaking bugs or stuff that I'm like, how did they release it with this? To me, it looked like they released the game that they wanted to release. To me, anyway.
The way I feel when I play it, and it's funny because in some games this wouldn't fly and I wouldn't like it, but I feel like I'm playing more than a game. I feel like I'm playing like an interactive piece of art because their style is so artistic and it's so different from, like, let's say another 4X, like a Civilization type game. It's their iconic art style is really amazing. And so, I don't know, I love everything that studio puts out. I've said before, and I will say once again, that I will purchase anything in any genre. If they put out a platformer, I'll buy it. Because I love how they do things. I love how they tie all their games together in the same universe. I love how their art style is really creative, and their interfaces, their UI is really creative.
No, I love their UIs.
I just hope, again, that they don't kind of get punished for the choices that having an outside publisher is forcing them to make.
Yeah. Well, that would be something like if... I would think if that happened, then, you would see the game get, I don't know, have dumb, gimmicky stuff added to it that... I don't know, what would be something somebody would do, as a cynical money grab? What's popular right now? Add a crafting system, for example. If it had an ad hoc shoehorned, and also in Endless Space 2, you'll be able to craft things. And it's like, what? This is a 4X. What the hell has a crafting system got to do with anything, That kind of a, cynical, cash grabby type thing. I would be like, yeah, That sounds like,
We've been here before, haven't we?
I think so. And I'm checking my quest, and like she gave me a whole bunch of messages saying that I was making progress, but I don't know
you
if
still need more.
I need more? Oh yeah, I do need more. I can see up here
until
my
the bar is filled up.
Yeah.
So another example I can give you is Creative Assembly. To this day, my favorite Total War game is Medieval 2 Total War. And their games get better graphically and graphically every single game, but I feel like the gameplay sort of fails, and they also partner with Sega. So just in case anybody cares who's watching, I have nothing against Sega. Sega's great. Sonic, it's great. It's a coincidence, but again, I feel like their games have lost a little bit of their magic touch. Since they kind of signed on the publisher.
Well, that's the thing, though, is they should be publishers. They should, look for games that they think are going to be cool and publish those, right? Like, if you're an editor, you don't try to write a book, you edit it. Or, if you're a book publisher, you try to find books that you think are going to be good. You don't try to write them yourself.
But from what I understand, again, based purely on hearsay and stuff I've read, the way video game publishers work is they routinely tell the design studio to cut certain parts of the game in order to be able to release it to the public faster. And I'm sure there's tons of well-researched, management reasons for that. But it never seemed, you never hear a story where someone's like, well, this game was going to suck, but then our publisher suggested a bunch of stuff that made it better. You never hear that. What you hear is, we had such high plans for this game, but our publisher wanted it to get us out really quick. And another Marine base? Seriously?
You know who I think is guilty of that is Paradox, because I will never pre-order a Paradox game again after Stellaris. I think Stellaris is now a fun game, but I don't think that Paradox released a finished game with Stellaris. And now, a year later, I feel like Stellaris is the game it should have been released as. So to me, that's the quintessential case study in what you're talking about right now, where it feels like a game was forced to be released early before it was really done.
Paradox, they get a little bit of leeway in my mind simply because they're a very YouTuber-friendly developer. So as a YouTuber, I got to give them props for that. But I do feel that some of the DLC that doesn't necessarily add gameplay content, but adds music or new skins for the little armies and Europa Universalis, I do definitely feel like those are cash grabs. But again, what people say in the forums is, look, if you don't like these, don't buy them.
Yeah. I remember with Stellaris, what really irked me was when they made the plantoid graphic pack, and it wasn't that I needed plants, but I remember one thing when I very first bought that game was I was like, really, there's only 6 ship models, whereas in any other game it's you have tons of ship models for each race and everything, right? It's this seems a little bare bones considering you can have 14 races in the game, but there's just 6 ship models for each type. Although granted, that depends on the chases of the ship and all these other things too. So when they released the plantoids, I was like, come on guys, why didn't you, these are just 3D models, why couldn't you have twice as many available in the base game, and now you're charging me money to add one more? And anyway, that irked me at the time, because I was I don't know, I felt a little salty about that. This should be free content was kind of how I felt about it. And then, like I said, combined with the fact that, I don't know, I started to feel bored with the game already, and just, it was kind of a final straw for me. Whereas, with the game, it was if that game had been released for the first time, the beginning of this year, with its latest, what is the latest patch? I can't remember. Not the Utopia expansion, but the base, because I only play the vanilla still. I still haven't bought Utopia, but it's a fun game now. It's and I'm just I wouldn't have any complaint. My only complaint is that I bought a game that wasn't good. I guess is basically what I'm saying. I bought a game that wasn't fun, and now it's fun. But
And the articles like the one from Explorminate that you linked to us, what they tend to say is that's how the industry's going. It's just release an unfinished game and just finish it through DLC and patches. And that's just the way the industry is, I guess. And but it's also hard to say, like, for example, I've also said things very similar to, wow, this should have been included in the base game. But I guess at the end of the day, like, how can you really determine what is an adequate amount of content, right? I mean, it's very subjective, and
well, and the thing is like, there's a saying in IT, which anybody in IT, they might disagree with me on this, but worse is better. And it's the idea that a piece of software that you can use is even if it doesn't work very well, is still infinitely more useful than a piece of software that doesn't get released. And so it's like, yeah, your software, maybe it's not great, but maybe it doesn't do things the way you'd want it to in a perfect world, but it's like your user needs to be able to, like, they need their point of sale system. So maybe you've made a crappy point of sale system, but hey, at least it's a point of sale system that is, going to get their job done. And, if your alternative is that you don't deliver the product on time so that people can use it, well, that's, like, infinitely worse. That's really cool. They have I forget what that guy's called. Hokusai. And so I think with, like, computer games, it can kind of similarly be the same thing, where it's like, well, we have this grand vision for the game. Well, that's what they kind of talked about in the Explorminate article as well, right? Is that they have these games that have so much ambition that they can't be fully realized in a way that, like, makes the game good. Like, they're too ambitious, I guess, is what they would say.
Yeah.
Sorry, again,
definitely.
This is what happens when I try to talk and play a game at the same time. So I have this very rambling, roundabout way of talking.
Don't worry about it. But I think we've raised some good points, and I hope the viewers who have stuck through this long, because it's been an hour now, I'd say, if you combine both of the episodes, that they are interested in this topic, and that they can, take what we're saying and use that to kind of determine what their own opinion is on the topic. And we love this industry, right? Like, even if I wasn't on YouTube, I would still play games. Yeah. So it's important to me how the gaming industry develops, and specifically an aspect of the industry that is having kind of a renaissance right now, but was in the wilderness for a long time, which is 4X.
Yeah.
And so it's so hard, because on the one hand, I see the shenanigans that publishers are pulling, but on the other hand, I ask myself, well, would you rather they give up on the genre as not a moneymaker and you just don't have games? And and so it's tough.
I take your point. I think for me as a consumer, my opinion has to be that that's a false binary, and that really publishers should just, or not publishers, but like people who make games should just do a good job and like not make avoidable mistakes. And I think too, that's maybe where things get my goat, is like I said, like, if a game releases itself and calls itself a beta or an alpha or an early access, I will forgive anything. But as soon as they take the label off of that, as soon as they take that label off, then the full brunt of my criticism comes to bear. And if I find things like that are just avoidable mistakes, like it can be something as minor as, like, just stupid typos, or it could be something like a really bad UI decision where, like, so many other games have the UI designed properly.
Is this the place we've already been to?
I don't remember if we've been here or not. I don't quite.
I mean, we definitely were at a mini-cog. Yeah, I think we've been here.
Yeah. Well, we should probably wrap up, I guess. But
yeah, we definitely should. But I just want to end with one thing, which is I don't really consider myself a game critic. That's not my role. That's not what my channel is about. I'm a game enthusiast.
Yeah.
You know, I have fun playing games. I want to, in my YouTube channel, present an image of someone who's having fun playing games, and I want the people viewing to have fun watching the game. And like, I want people to look at the base I made or whatever in this game and be inspired to load it up and make their own base that's better than mine. And so I don't know. You don't hear me talk a lot. Now, if it's a game I love, like Dwarf Fortress, I will criticize it. I will say, okay, here's what I wish they would do.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I try to stay away from that because, again, I'm trying to kind of embrace and love gaming. And so, I mean, you know, criticism is absolutely necessary. There's a role for it, but it's not my role. I guess it's hard to word, but that's kind of the point I'm trying to make. That's why you don't see me do game reviews. You know.
Yeah.
Also, because I don't know anything. I mean, let's be honest. I'm an enthusiast. I'm a game player, but I don't know what it takes to make a game made. I don't know the kind of decisions you have to make, and so it'd be like, you know, it'd be like criticizing. Well, obviously, criticizing any industry or person that has skills and you know, intelligence levels and that you don't have, because you don't really know the process. So, as a final word on my part, I guess I would just say that I just want to enjoy games, and as a result, that the games need to be made. And so I support anything that will cause gaming in general to be financially successful. And I just hope that the developers and publishers who are both financially successful but still passionate about the games they're making will be the cream that rises to the top.
Yeah. And like, as far as like my attitude, I like, if I have a review to make, like, people can go on Steam and see like how I review a game, right? When I play the games, I think I try to talk about like what I like, and if I talk about like what I don't like, it's just me thinking out loud. Like, I just play and try to say like what's on my mind. And you know, I don't know, I'm trying to think of what I liked about your channel when I was watching. I remember one of my favorite series you did was Curious Expedition, and I like to just see people playing a game and talking through what they like and don't like. And I get it though, like I'll stop playing a game. Like I recently stopped playing Battle Brothers because I just felt like I had nothing. I don't know. It was just like I was too negative playing it. But even if I criticize a game, as long as I'm enjoying the game, then I think that comes through. But I don't know. Some people will disagree too. So like, I get comments on my channel sometimes. People are like, you just complain all the time. It's like, well, yeah, but that's also kind of just who I am. I always complain about everything. So yeah, even if I come down, yeah, I'm just sharing my thoughts. Like, what we've been talking about today on this episode is like kind of what I talk about like over lunch with my friends. You know, like, we just enjoy talking and criticizing it. But I don't think anybody in the gaming industry is going to have their feelings hurt by like what I think, you know? Which is, I guess, how I feel about like criticism. It's like, yeah, that's all I have to say.
I already said I was going to say my final word, but just real quick, if it's a smaller publisher, like Fail Better, for example, the Endless, or not, I'm sorry, Amplitude is the Endless. Fail Better is the Fallen London and the Sunless Skies and Sunless Seas. I want to pump them up. Like, I want people to buy their games because they're watching my channel, because I love their games, and I know that they're niche, and I want more people to get into it. If I'm playing a game by like EA or published by Sega or something, I feel a bit more comfortable in expressing my thoughts if they're slightly negative. But again, if I really feel negatively about a game, it's not going to be on my channel. Like, what's the point of that?
Yeah, because that's the thing too. It's like, you don't play a game that you don't like. Like Jim Sterling can do that, you know? Like, he's good at that. Like, but I wouldn't want to play the games that Jim Sterling plays, even though I find it funny watching him, you know, kind of poop all over these terrible games. But man, I don't envy him that job, you know, playing games that aren't fun. But while we're shouting out really good developers, because I know you like these guys too, I love Muha Games, for example. Like, they're a great, the guys who made Thea. Like, I think they're a great developer, and I really love the way that they continued to release content that was like for free. And I think it's also kind of like they set like a high bar for me, like comparing to then like Paradox, who like releases DLC that costs money, but like Muha like released all these expansions to Thea just like for free. And they had this thing where, like, you know, if you want to and you want to support us, just like, you know, give us money for coffee. And I'm just like, wow, that's an awesome attitude. And like, I'll probably buy their next game like without a second thought because I like them. And you mentioned Fail Better, and I love those guys too because they just seem to have their stuff together. You know, like they just got their head in the game and they just get it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so yeah, I love those developers and I want to support them too. But,
yeah, I mean, I support developers who, and Muha is actually a great example of this. There are some developers who they want to develop a game that everyone's going to like. And I try to stay away from that. I want a developer who knows they're making a very niche game that not a lot of people are going to like, but the people that are going to like it, it's the only thing out there that scratches that itch. And I think there's nothing out there in the world like Sunless Sea. And maybe 80% of people would not enjoy playing it, but for the 20% who do, it is amazing. So yeah, I'd rather see a company who's just really good at one thing and they just kill that thing than somebody who wants to be all things to all people.
Yeah. It's like I don't need more Spice Girls, but would definitely take more. I don't know. Like they're not my favorite band, but an example is like Velvet Underground. You know, like if we're comparing it to like music, like I don't want like just constant pop music. You know, like I like musicians that like take a risk and their music's not going to be for everybody, but they're doing their own thing. And like we need that kind of creativity in any sector of art. And you know, I'll go ahead and say that like I know a lot of people poo-poo video games as not being art, but you know what? I think there's a lot of art involved in video games. So anyway, well, I guess we ought to sign off because we're just kind of hanging out on your ship, and probably people are talking.
Yeah, so
tired of listening to me talk.
You had the final word, though, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate your thoughts, and thank you for doing these co-op episodes with me. And I appreciate that, and I guess I'll see you on the battlefield.
Yeah, this kind of turned into like a half and half, like just gaming podcast kind of thing, I guess. But
well, I think that's that's what I set out for this series to be. Really, like no one's going to learn how to be better at Starbound from watching
me that's true
in this series. It's more like if you like Marcus, you like Marcus's channel, you can learn a little bit more about the man behind the mask. I guess, although I don't wear a mask. But,
we all have a
YouTube
avatar.
Thanks very much to Wade Star for guest starring, and have a good one, everyone.
All right, see you later. Bye bye.